stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the oath of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence. Thank you. I want to remind everybody, I've had several people tell me that when they're sitting in a courtroom or from home, they can't hear us very well. With my voice, that is a surprise to me, but just please keep your mics where people can hear you. Organizational meeting, elections of officers.
It's custom, I can start this and then hand it off to the chair or continue on however the chair desires at that point in time. If that suits the body. Keep going. Excellent. Every year the board appoints chair, vice chair, several other positions, as well as sets your regular scheduled meetings. And you do that through a resolution, which is made up of a number of separately documented nominations and votes for individuals. So the first individual on that list is the chairperson. So the way we've done this the last several years that has worked is that nominations can come from the floor for individuals to be chairperson. After no further nominations come forward, then board members can vote for their choice for chair by stating their name at their opportunities to vote. So with that, I'll open the floor to nominations for chairperson.
Mr. Curry, this is Keir Whitson. I would like to nominate Ms. Donahue as chair. And with that nomination, I wanted to mention just two things, probably notes of appreciation for her service. Number one, I noticed, and I'm sure my colleagues did as well, that in your recent county administrator update that Ms. Donahue was elected chair of the Rappahannock Regional Commission, which is really quite an honor. I think it speaks to her leadership and the fact that she's out there on behalf of Rappahannock County serving us well in the region and also the state. We know she's very active with the state legislature. And then the second thing I wanted to mention is really to congratulate her on pursuing becoming an EMT and passing her national examination. And I think that also speaks to her leadership in the context of the restoration of Company 4. So thank you. And I appreciate you allowing me to speak.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Hearing none, we'll close nominations, and by virtue of being the only nominee, Ms. Donahue will be the chair by acclamation.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Wilson, for the kind words. And it is an honor to serve as chair for this wonderful board in our county.
So, Ms. Chair.
Keep going, please, sir. You're so good at it.
Am I? Next up is vice chairperson, and this is for the calendar year as well. So open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Supervisor Whitson, even though he's not here with us today. Hello, Supervisor Whitson. I'm nominated.
You beat me to it.
Any other nominations? Sorry. Any other nominations for vice chair? Nominations will be closed, and Mr. Whitson will be the vice chair of acclamation.
With the commitment to improving my in-person attendance this year. Thank you.
Next, we have the representative to the Rappahannock Regional Commission for the year. Open the floor to nominations for that.
That generally goes with the chairmanship, so it should be Ms. Donahue.
Is that a nomination?
I think it is.
Thank you.
Are there any other nominations for representative to the Rappahannock Regional Commission? Hearing none, Ms. Donahue will be the representative by acclamation. Next is the Board of Supervisors representative to the County Planning Commission, open. And also we have appointed a representative, appointee, and an alternate, just to make sure there's coverage. So I'll accept nominations for an appointee and an alternate.
I'd like to nominate, Ms. Smith if she's so inclined to do it.
I'd be very happy to continue to serve.
And if we can do it in that order, I'll nominate Mr. Whitson to stay as the alternate.
Any other nominations for the appointee or the alternate? Okay, and by acclamation, we have Ms. Smith as the appointee and Mr. Whitson as the alternate.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Board of Zoning Appeals representative to the County Planning Commission. My understanding is that the Board of Zoning Appeals met and recommended to the Board of Supervisors that Ms. Steph Ritter be appointed.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Stafford. I wouldn't jump on anybody's toes here.
I was just going to say, as the chairman of the Planning Commission, Ms. Ritter always comes very well prepared and is a great asset to the commission, and it would really help us to continue our work for her to be reappointed.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any other nominations for BZA rep to the Planning Commission? Hearing none, Ms. Ritter will be the appointee.
Thanks, Deb.
Next, you have a representative to the Rappahannock River Basin Commission. We have an appointee and an alternate. So nominations for the appointee and the alternate, or either. That's you're so inclined.
I'll go ahead and nominate Ms. Donahue to the Rappahannock River Basin Commission. I appreciate that she's been serving this past year and attending meetings.
And I'd like to nominate Mr. Whitson as the alternate. Thank you for doing that, Mr. Whitson.
Are there any other nominations for the appointee or alternate to the Rappahannock River Basin Commission? All right. So Ms. Donahue, you will be the appointee by acclamation. Mr. Whitson, you will be the alternate by acclamation. Next, there are representatives to serve on the Public Safety Committee. This are two members of the Board of Supervisors, both appointed. To accept nominations, and so you nominate up to two people.
I'll nominate Ms. Donahue to serve on the Public Safety Committee.
And I'll nominate Mr. Whitson. You've done an excellent job as chair last year, and I want to keep that momentum going.
Thank you.
Other nominations to serve on the Public Safety Committee? By acclamation, Mr. Whitson and Ms. Donahue, you will serve on the Public Safety Committee. Next is an individual to serve on the Fire Levy Board. Accept nominations.
I'll nominate Van Carney to serve on the Fire Levy Board.
Any other nominations for Fire Levy Board? Mr. Carney, you will serve on the Fire Levy Board by acclamation. We keep this up through the entire slate. Next is an appointee and an alternate to serve on the Rappahannock Shenandoah Warren Regional Jail Authority Board. I should mention that the county administrator and the sheriff serve on the RSWRJ board, and I've noted in your appointment resolution that the assistant county administrator can serve as an alternate for the administrator, and the chief deputy can serve as an alternate for the sheriff, and that will help make sure we have quorums at those meetings. So I will accept an appointee and an alternate to the RSWRJ Authority Board.
Mr. Woodson, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to nominate Supervisor Woodson.
Thank you. Happy to do it again.
Any-
I'll nominate Ms. Donahue as the alternate for the regional jail board.
Any other nominations for the appointee or the alternate for the RSWRJ Authority Board? All right. Mr. Whitson, you will be the appointee. Ms. Donahue will be the alternate. Next is an appointee on the Agricultural and Forestal Districts Advisory Committee. This body typically meets before the Planning Commission meeting. When they meet.
Nominate Supervisor Smith to be the representative.
Any other nominations for Agricultural Districts Advisory Committee? All right, Ms. Smith, you will serve on the Agricultural Districts Advisory Committee.
I'll try to keep up with that one meeting a year. So it's a big
In a couple of years, they're going to come back with
No, I hope I didn't just jinx myself.
Next, we have a representative and alternate for the Rappahannock County Recreational Facilities Authority.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Comer. I have really enjoyed serving on that board. The conflict this year is going to not allow me to serve on anybody that wanted me to stay, but I would love for Ms. Comer to be on if she is so willing.
Yes, happy to.
Not to presume.
It's a good group.
I would like to nominate Supervisor Whitson as the alternate.
Any other nominations for the appointee or the alternate for RCRFA? All right, Ms. Comer, you will serve as the appointee. And Mr. Whitson, you will serve as the alternate. By acclamation. Getting down there. Next, we have an appointment to serve on the Rappahannock County Community Policy and Management Team. This body manages the Children's Services Act funds. The Assistant County Administrator also serves on the CPMT. Accept nominations for representative to CPMT.
I would nominate Donna Comer, Supervisor Comer, as the representative.
Did you have that in 2024? Is it okay?
This body does typically meet during the day, so it can be tricky. Any other nominations for representative on CPMT? Congratulations, you've read through your entire slate, all by acclamation. Ms. Comer, you will be the nominee on the appointing on the CPMT. Lastly, the last paragraph, as I noted, identifies your regular scheduled meetings will continue to be held on the first Monday of every month in this building, the courtroom, unless the board changes it pursuant to 15-1416, much like today, when there is a weather need to change it, and there are a few other ways to change it if it comes up. For instances when there is a state holiday on Monday, the meeting will automatically be Wednesday. And that essentially is what the resolution states. With
Madam
the
Chair, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, I was just going to move us along. Madam Chair, I'll put forward a motion that we adopt the resolution electing the chair, vice chair, making various other appointments, and setting the regular meeting schedule for the upcoming year. Sorry to jump the gun on Mr. Perry.
All is recently discussed in these various appointment motions, right?
Thank you very much for that. We a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Carney?
Say roll call.
Yep. Ms. Comer?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Carney?
Aye.
Mr. Whitson?
Aye.
And I also. Thank you, everyone.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, with that, we have presentations. Dr. Beardsley, Supervisors.
Good afternoon, Happy New Year. It's great to see you all. It was very tough to come back from Florida on Saturday to this. But my report is very short and sweet as we have been on break. I did link our end of year holiday version newsletter in my published report, so I do hope you take a look at it. There were so many activities and accolades to share in that newsletter. Next week, we will hold our regular school board meeting where I will give the preliminary view of the governor's budget, the very first step in our budget development process. But as you know, the governor's budget is very preliminary and does not usually look anything like what we end up with. So it's just an overview of how it would impact us the way it looks now. So that's what we will be discussing at that meeting. As far as the snowstorm, we are digging out. The schools are open, our walkways are clear, the lots are clear. However, our secondary roads do not look great at all. So there will be an update going out later this afternoon. Do you have any questions for me?
I do, thank you. I want to follow up quickly on the lobbying efforts. Where
Sure.
are we with that?
We are moving forward with phase 2. We did receive some news this morning that we are in great shape with our budget amendment being filed ahead of the deadline, which is going to be Friday, but with the snowstorm would be Monday. So that's terrific news.
The snowstorm and the fact that this industry doesn't have water,
Yeah.
big issues.
Right.
Big water main break.
Yeah.
They were
No,
clean and.
Their water treatment plant lost power.
Yes, it did. I was supposed to be there Monday and Tuesday, so I'm very glad that we were snowed in and that those meetings were put virtual, so I didn't have to go.
Thank you.
Good. Very excited. Any questions?
Anyone else?
Excellent.
All right.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you very much. Next is the company tour update.
So, by the wording of your resolution, technically, I don't have to do this, and you don't have to listen to me, so I appreciate your allowing me to report it one more time. Our December numbers were calls, EMS calls 21, responses 17, and we transported 3 patients. Our fire calls were 5, and our responses were 4. So that's about on par with the previous month in terms of how often we're getting out. So this being our last one scheduled, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we've done over the last 2 years. It's actually more like a year and a half, I think, as you all know, because we had the late start. It behooves me, and I think the entire organization wants me to start with thank yous. And thank you for entrusting those of us you appointed with this task. And we are very appreciative of the Board of Supervisors and the county staff. Mr. Curry has been very helpful, and the EMS community. Not just the paid staff, but also several of the companies have been very helpful and supportive in our efforts. We're very appreciative of Darren Stevens and Cat Waters, who helped with our educational efforts, our recruiting, our getting people through the process, and with the paramedics who ride with 1400, who have helped us with our educational process and getting us the experience we need to be able to be released. That's great, but what's most gratifying and what's been the best for all of us has been the community support. It's just been nearly overwhelming. We've had 6 community events in that short time: a holiday barbecue, a swing dance, a cornhole tournament, summer fish fry, a Latin dance, and a hunter's supper. These 6 events were collectively attended by approximately 800 people, in addition to our affiliated members. The funds that we've raised in our time with Company 4 at our events and by individual contributions have totaled $155,160. It's incredible. Companies receive grants from the Loeb Foundation, the Old Dominion Hunts, Old Dominion Conservation and Education Foundation, as well as Rappahannock Electric Cooperative, totaling $51,000. Individual donations have ranged from $1 to, well, some big numbers. And each and every one of those is very much appreciated. Our grand total for money raised, donations, and grants has been $206,000. Through mid-December, our volunteer hours, since we began counting them, we've had EMS since August that we've been staffing 2,200 hours. And our support and admin hours of volunteers, 4,300. We've grown to 43 members, and we've still got new ones in the pipeline. All but 3 of those have joined in the last 24 months. We have 7 new EMTs plus 1 that previously had that certification. We have an advanced provider and a paramedic, and we're moving towards upgrading the ambulance to be able to function as a medic unit. We have 4 certified firefighters and numerous members who've taken basic pump operations and can help. And we have at least 9 drivers who have passed the course for emergency vehicle operations. We've done a cover-to-cover rewrite of the bylaws as provided for in your resolution. We've had numerous all-hands events out to help and clean and improve outbuildings and grounds, which if you drive by, I hope you'll be able to recognize that we've cleaned the place up a bit, and the exterior siding of the main building has been changed, upgraded to dramatically improve the appearance of Company 4 facilities. We are stood up, we are ready to serve. It's a testament to what's possible with volunteerism in this county. It's been very gratifying as a company to be able to participate in that and appreciate how much my new friends have done. So thank you all very much. Questions?
Dr. Hill, thank you so much for coming and reporting back to us over the time when you've been doing it. And I'm just so thrilled to just see and hear all the progress you all have made. It's really amazing and incredible.
Thank you, sir.
Come behind you all. Thank you for being so steadfast in your commitment. I know that you are emergency room doctor.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, you have some experience here, but I just...
But at the other end of the spear.
At the other end, that's right. The other end of the pipeline.
Correct.
But thank you. Thank you for being there.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you. As the Wakefield District Supervisor, this is a big deal. And I think 2 years ago when we were in the meeting, the one thing I wanted to be able to say, and I feel like I can today, is the phoenix has risen. Thank you.
That's our spirit animal, is the phoenix. Up from the ashes. All right, thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, sir.
And we all look forward to continuing to serve and making you proud of us.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Hall.
you.
Bobby and Jose.
Mr. Spain is online, and having had your purpose-driven meeting in the middle of last month, I suggested Mr. Spain could provide an update on schedule following the work that you accomplished during that last week.
Yes, and I heard you mentioning Richmond earlier, and it is as unpleasant as you might think. So we are currently working on implementing the revisions based on our meeting last month, and we are starting elevations, and our plan is to show them to the Planning Oversight Committee on Thursday, January 16th or around there, depending on availability. Then following that, we'll need a couple of weeks probably to make revisions. We will show it to the Planning Oversight Committee one more time early in February, and then we are planning to be in person to present to the Board of Supervisors middle of February. I'm currently tentatively for the 13th of February, which I understand will be a special session.
Yes.
And we understand we probably have some revisions or possibly, and we're estimating a week to implement those, and then we would be back for an in-person presentation to the citizens.
So we were kind of on pause for a little bit while the program was being revalidated, I guess if you will, which that revalidation happened at your last meeting that was joint with the Planning Oversight Committee, and with that, Cloudine Homes can charge forward. John also said that their contractor performed geotechnical borings here behind
Yes.
the buildings, and just my preliminary discussion with them, I don't think they found anything that was alarming. Doesn't mean there isn't anything that's alarming, just means they didn't find anything in those particular places, which is better than the alternative.
And we will be getting a summary from them this week, and then they are working on their final report.
If everybody can look at mid-February, keep that in mind, that would be very helpful.
And it's possible that that date might have to slide, which is why I haven't really tried to bind the board yet, because of the other two iterative meetings with the Planning Oversight Committee. But then there will be a meeting, there are meetings also contemplated with the public in general after the Board of Supervisors.
I do wonder if there's a point at which it makes sense to engage the closest fire and rescue company, Company One. I know often companies will come on site and give advice about how to structure a driveway or an entryway to accommodate their vehicles. And I would think we would want to anticipate the needs of our closest responders when planning these public buildings.
Probably the chiefs in general, because they have different apparatus. For example, this building would require the tower, which might have the most restrictive access, and so that we have done that for other building projects in the community, and we'll definitely do that here. It's a good
Sounds
suggestion.
good. Thank you.
We have also reached out to the town to ask them when they think the best time to have a preliminary discussion about zoning and ARB. And so we're working out with the town right now how that would look, because they don't have an informal process, but this is not a normal project.
All right, anything else for Cloudine Homes? Thank you very much for being available today. We look forward to hearing about the meeting in February.
That's right, we will have water here, John, so
Okay, that sounds great. Enjoy it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it's time for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please be recognized and give us your name and your district.
Hi, I'm Steph Ritter, and I'm from the Wakefield District, and I just want to thank you all for being willing to serve another year. As Board of Supervisors members, I know it has moments of being a thankless task. I also want to thank you for allowing me to serve on the Planning Commission again. I really enjoyed working with our chief here, Ms. Smith. And I also wanted to say that on the lobbyist issue, I know I say this every year, but I really think we're going to be able to lift the cap. I think that we have a really good bipartisan team and a lot of folks behind us, and I'm sure we will all let you know when you need to sound the alarm and go down to Richmond and have your voices heard. So I think this is the year we're going to get that money.
Thank you,
Fingers
Steph.
and toes crossed. Thank you, Steph. Anyone else in the courtroom wishing to speak?
Ron Macklin, Jackson District. First of all, I want to thank you for this. That's the first time I've had a chance to use it. needed this here for a long time. I can take my piece of paper now, and just realized I brought the wrong piece of paper. So I'm winging it.
There's another one in your shirt pocket, is that it?
No, those are the checks I gotta take.
I'll take this too. They look signed.
No.
Outside, there you go.
This one. Ah, thank you.
All right, Paul.
Got too many copies, and too much stuff.
Thanks to community.
Okay, I'm going to make a few comments early on the contractors situation that's coming up this evening. The first thing I just wanted to go into is, why do we need it? We've had, there's been on the books for years, the process for approving the permits, and for the most part, it's been ignored and never enforced. And now suddenly, and I think I'm possibly correct in this, in that this was sort of brought about a Capioli situation, in that was the first really challenge we've ever had on the contractors' permits, other than Greg Williams, which was not similar. But anyhow, I think it's an overreaction, and it's anti-business. The restrictions, there are so many restrictions that it's going to make it very difficult for anybody to really come in and function under what they're going to be required to do. And it's also because of the specificity of it as far as numbers of this and numbers of that. Somebody comes in and they start their business or whatever, and they're doing a good job, and they want to grow their business. And what can happen here is with these specific numbers, that they're not going to be able to do it without going through some process which we don't have. And another part of it also, which I don't quite understand, is the fact that the restrictions apply to not only what's outside the building. If you have a building, and you can't have a building, and you can have a 100 by 100 foot building according to where it's written. But I don't see where we can tell people what they can have inside a building. So, that, and that's the way it's written. It says site. Everything, the numbers are based on these sites, and it doesn't say, in or out of the building. So, like I said, I don't think it's correct for, the government basically to tell me if I'm going to have my business there, what I can have inside my building. So I would hope that you would take that into consideration when you're looking at this. And for now, that's, I'll have some more comments tonight, but I just wanted you to think about that for the meeting tonight, because I think it is an issue, and I think we've been, over the years by not even enforcing or using it, things seem to have been fine until this one situation, and to react the way we're reacting is not really going to be fair to other people that are going to come behind what took place earlier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. It's Sheila Bressinger, Hampton District. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Last year, Anita, I think it's Ramos, brought a bag of books to give you a selection of recommendations and everything, which was sort of cool. Well, I was treated to a trip to a Barnes & Noble as a Christmas present by my husband. And I think you might remember me saying, check your ego at the door when you go in to start having discussions or trying to figure out how to do something. And so there's this really cool book, Ego is the Enemy, okay, by Ryan Holiday. Well, he goes into several examples, many examples of very famous people. Ego really isn't your enemy, it's what you do with it, okay? And so one of the question I have is, what does it take to get something done? And so that's the question I always ask myself when I was presented with a new job. And so when we're dealing with the courthouse, when we're dealing with the broadband, I think it's very critical that we check our egos at the door and all work together as best we can to figure out what is it going to take to get it done. And that means the courthouse, which looks like it's on the right path, which pleases me to no end because it concerned me greatly. And then broadband, which is, we're dealing with rural counties, and there's a lot of things that when you have a plan, sometimes it gets messed up. And so what does it take to get the job done? You have the thing out of the box. Well, sometimes you need to get out of the box, around the corner, sometimes down the hill, across the ditch. So whatever it takes, I know we can do it this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Anyone else? All right, I know we have folks online, and I have one hand raised. Ms. Ramos?
Hi there, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Anita Ramos, Hampton District. I unfortunately had to choose not to come today because I'm due at a doctor's appointment tomorrow at 9 here in Fairfax, and I did not want to drive home tonight in the ice, the deer, the dark, etc. Again, as I do every year for a good number of years now, I want to recognize those people that are in the courtroom or at home or anywhere in the county who have taken care of our dear country in some way, shape, or form as a federal employee, working in the services or any associated organizations. I'm a child of the Pentagon. My dad and my husband were both in the Pentagon. I grew up with lots of people who have worked for various parts of our government, and I know how hard they have worked, and they still do. And I appreciate all they do to protect our dear country. Second of all times these days, I want to honor the memory of the late President Jimmy Carter. He was a decent, wonderful man, and we were so lucky to have him as a president and as a human being on this earth that we got to know. So anyway, thank you all very much, and let's hope we have a good new year. I'm expecting that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else online that wishes to speak during public comment? So I'll go ahead and close public comment. Any of the consent agenda?
Make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I just want to say how thankful I am for the donation and grants we seem to be getting, and $1 million supplemental appropriations. That's very large. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. On to appointments.
The first appointment opportunity is for a representative on the Laurel Ridge Community College Board. As you're aware, this appointment is available due to a vacancy at the current term due to resignation. Just yesterday and today, we received an application from Will Fairhurst. He previously worked for Social Services as a CSA coordinator. That's where you stand right now.
I believe Will do an excellent job representing Rappahannock County at Laurel Ridge. He's passionate about children, and I think he may be able to help Laurel Ridge find other ways to help the students that are going there. So I would like to nominate Will to represent us at the Laurel Ridge Community College Board for a term ending June 30th, 2028.
And if I could just, I didn't write a motion recommended action, if you could pen to that, to waive any nonconformities with the appointment process,
I'll second that.
or none, whatever I call it.
non-conforming something or others.
Waive any formalities.
Yeah, that thing.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to abstain on this vote. I don't know this individual or anything about him. We used to receive advance notice from these appointees and an offer to meet and usually at least have a cup of coffee and talk about what they wanted to do. Knowing the history of this appointment, I would prefer to have an opportunity to meet the appointee before making the appointment, and that's certainly not a reflection on the applicant. It's just an inconvenience of bad timing.
Thank you.
I'll second your motion to appoint. I know Mr. Ferrer's a little bit from way back when at Wakefield Country Day School. And I know he's got deep ties to our community, family ties, and I do know that he is very involved with helping youth through outdoor adventures and that sort of thing. So he seems to have a real knack for education, and I think be a good appointee.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Please note my abstention.
Thank you. Rappahannock County Broadband Authority.
Yes, as you recall, the Board of Supervisors created the Broadband Authority, and therefore you are empowered to appoint its members. Currently, Ms. Donahue and Mr. Whitson's terms will be ending on January 23rd, 2025, as will Mr. Reinhardt's. If you recall, the documents that created the authority allow up to 2 members to be non-board members. Currently, you have 2 members that are non-board members, Mr. Reinhardt and Ms. Bond. So there are 3 appointments to be made today or at any time in the future. And if the board is so inclined, you would make those appointments through January 23rd, 2029, 4-year terms.
I will move to reappoint Chair Donahue, Vice Chair Whitson, and Mr. Reinhardt,
I'll second that.
if they're willing.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
See you all later.
I bet.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Planning Commission.
Mark, thank you for your report, by the way.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to do so. Hope it helped.
Next, you have appointment to the Planning Commission. The appointee serving the Hampton District has a term that will end on February 7th, 2025. That's Al Henry. Al has offered to serve another term. His application is attached.
Chair Donahue, I'll put forward a motion to reappoint Alvin Henry to the Planning Commission, and that is for the term commencing February 7th, 2025 through February 7th, 2029.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a
I just wanted to note the great appreciation that the commission has for Mr. Henry's breadth of knowledge on any number of topics, and he knows an astounding amount of properties in the county personally, which comes in very handy when you're evaluating them as a group.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. County construction.
It's a written update. I'll just run through it very quickly. The historical building envelope restoration project, as you recall, we applied for the VA 250 Preservation Fund grants. That awards will be made known in late 2024. Well, apparently it's going to be early 2025. Because I haven't done it yet. I reached out to DHR and they said they're still working on it. So we continue to have our fingers crossed that we'll have a good award from that to do what needs to be done. Otherwise, we're on pause. The courthouse, we spoke just a minute ago with Glavine Homes. I don't think there's much addition there to what we already talked about. The EMS Sheriff Garage Processing Building, the sewer plans are at 95% now, so we're just about done with that, and I'll be ready to bid the whole project. Yeah.
Are we gonna get, and I think he said this, the 5 boreholes, are we gonna?
Yeah, we'll get a report.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
Just in general, from my recollection, the first refusal of bedrock was 16 feet, which was one of the lower ones. So the basement issue doesn't seem to be a problem. We only put 5 holes in the ground, so you know what's happening at those 5 holes, not necessarily in between, but you have a good idea.
So that, in layman's terms, so that's 16 feet to bedrock?
From the ground surface to bedrock at what was the lowest elevation, kind of down the hill. Yeah. And deeper. There were 2 holes put in the asphalt kind of behind this building, one behind the old admin building, and then 2 kind of in the back field area.
Gotcha.
You were just reappointed, Mr. Henry. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Just in time.
That's what happens when you're not here, we appoint you to all kinds of things. We'll give you the list later.
Thank you.
Is this stuff that, well, this may sound like a redundant question, but will we have this stuff on file for future years?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
When they, and really in the weeds, when they advance these boreholes, they drove split spoons. So that helps tell, 1, pulls the sample, and 2, you can tell how firm or the soil is by how many blows it takes to move each 6 inches. I've spent a lot of time around drill rigs driving split spoons in the past, so it's kind of fun to go out.
Were you out there when they did this?
I just breezed by.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool.
Nice not to have to babysit drill rigs anymore. So that's that. The school board office garage generator project, we were supposed to get the generator yesterday. We've rescheduled that to Friday. And then we'll have all the parts and pieces, and the local contractor will then start putting it all together. The shelter generator project, that's kind of on hold right now. I've got the design from the electrical engineer, but the equipment's not going to be here for ever. And then county campus network, we discussed that at an earlier meeting, and had conversations with the firm in December, and we both agreed that let's set this on the table, and then let's talk about it in January after everybody's back in the office. So that's where we are there.
Now on to new commercial activity and related matters. Mr. Woodson?
Nothing to mention right now. I think everything is frozen currently, so.
Yep.
Literally.
All right. New business, Route 211, Shenandoah National Park.
I asked for staff to add this to the agenda, mostly for the purposes of updating everybody in the public about the meeting which the county administrator, Chair Donahue, and myself, along with Roger Jenkins, took the week before Christmas over in Luray, and several other counties were present, along with representatives of the park and the new park superintendent. And I think most of us probably saw on social media the backup this fall from the Thornton Gap entrance, which seemed to span for several miles. I wasn't personally going to go up there and survey it because I didn't want to get stuck at the mountain for hours, and I mean, the evidence is right there on the video. So we all sat down along with Mark Nesbitt from VDOT, and was it Roy Tate? Was that the engineer?
No, Ben Davison,
Ben
as well as
Davison.
their counterparts from the Valley side.
Yeah, so a couple of representatives from VDOT, and had I thought a good and spirited discussion about the best approach for what has really become a large event management challenge because of the influx of visitors during peak season. It's now akin to something like Super Bowl's a hyperbole, but a large sporting event where you have everyone trying to get to a place all at once, and how do you accommodate those larger crowds when you are only built for a certain capacity. And as I recall, the upshot of the conversation is that VDOT is going to work with the park, and the park really needs to be the leader on this, to devise management of traffic plan for peak weekends for visitors to the park in the fall. What that will look like remains to be seen. We as a county are willing to come to the table and offer support through the Sheriff's Department using tourism-directed dollars, which we must spend for tourism directives only. And we made it clear that we wanted to be part of the solution, but the major players at the table are, of course, VDOT, because they're in charge of the roads, and the park, who's the chief beneficiary of all those visitors. So hopefully this will benefit everyone and keep that down to one lane for park exit in the fall.
I do think when they categorized it as an event, it made you think about it differently. So I'm really glad that that discussion started, because people have events all the time, and they talked about some that go well and some that don't, and the needs of traffic control and support from our sheriff and the state maybe, and their forestry or land park service, I think will be helpful that they look at it in that context. So I'm glad we had that meeting. It was a good meeting to have.
I agree.
I think we'll all continue to come to the table, and hopefully, it's just odd that it, all of a sudden last year it seems to have amped up more than even in 2020. So,
Did we have a sign? Didn't this park, or I think that had made a major difference.
we had signage this year, I think 2 signs on the way up the mountain, and still people, poor choices prevailed, and people decided to head to the left lane and see if they could cut.
Get in front of the two cars.
cut in line in front of somebody further up the mountain. So, and the Sheriff's Department did help with enforcement, and the folks from the park do come through when they have personnel, and they call it sweeping that lane through to force people to come back around. So I think it needs to be a coordinated effort, and this was the first step in that.
Yeah, the Park Service noted that when traffic is like that at the entrances, they absolutely have their hands full in the park. And so that's why having the counties and VDOT and the sheriffs come together, there's cooperative ways to get at this, so we work together in a common plan. So I feel good about better about next year, not about good. But, there's only so many cars you can fit through that funnel, so.
Right. Hopefully it will bear good fruit.
All right. Board committee reports. Let's see, where am I? Did the park meet?
Yes, we did. We met and we discussed the fodder stack, but we also discussed the budget request, which I think will be similar to last year. Chair will send the budget to, has she already sent it to you?
Not yet.
You're meeting tomorrow.
All right. Donna has a meeting tomorrow.
It's a meeting tomorrow. We have a meeting tomorrow.
I do have a meeting tomorrow. Full disclosure, I'm unable to attend.
But it was a good meeting, and they keep forging ahead, and just really good process. We've added, some new members recently. We've had one had to resign, unfortunately. I'd just like to say that Ms. Glemboski was an incredible member, and despite the health issues that she was going through, she continued to act as secretary and to come to meetings and to be incredibly productive. And I just can't thank her enough, and I think she's now moving back to be closer to family. So there is an opening, so thank you, Ms. Klombowski. There is an opening on the park board that we are now, at least I have been knocking on doors, finding interest. And one of the big things that we've been talking about is that they've gotten some interest in, some feedback on the playground stuff, and so they're really looking for maybe some folks that have kids that use it. And so if any of you all know somebody that wants to be on the park board, there's a spot. Thanks.
Thank you for that. How's the playground? They're going to get a fundraiser going, I think I've heard.
Yeah, so, there's sticker shock involved with everything these days, but especially with things like this, where there seems to be one kind of purchaser, which are governments for playgrounds. So, we went in with a preliminary, hey, let's look at an $80,000 and $120,000 option. People are like, well, what about the 300? It's like, I think we got one thing back. These things are incredibly expensive. It's like the school buses. They went from paying like $79,000 to $129 over 5 years or something. Anyway, but there's a lot of momentum and there's a lot of things that we can do. There's a lot of options out there, so it's exciting. But the truth is that if we travel around, we live in such an affluent area. You got to Fauquier, even you go to Front Royal, and people have these massive, crazy parks. But then you just look at their park budget. So that's what we're navigating. But they're doing a great job, and a big piece of that is going to be fundraising. But the understanding is that because there's these different parts that should come together, there really needs to be a comprehensive, coordinated effort to fundraise at the right time to do the maximum amount of work that you can do to bring in the community bucks.
And is the foundation handling fundraising?
Yeah, it'll be a coordinated effort, yeah. And the foundation has now gotten new life breathed into it. They're doing fantastically. We've gotten the website set up and they're all connected, and they're working hand in glove to do that. So, but it does take some real vision pulling all those different pieces together to raise that kind of money. Playgrounds are expensive. Anyway.
Because you can't get hurt on them. Can't fall off of things.
Be curious, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd be curious to pull the budget for the last round of playground equipment at the park.
Yeah.
So the pirate ship was built all with, people donated labor and money.
Right.
And time, and, I think the park board would welcome that. And I think it's just maybe a different time.
It is a different time.
And I mentioned at the last meeting I attended that the playground at the wharf in Warrenton, there was a massive, massive fundraising undertaking when they built that. So the director of Parks and Recreation, who was the director then when it happened, she is no longer with the town, but I think it will be a good idea to connect our group with Ms. Zimmer and with, so they can learn everything, because it was the mothers did, it's amazing what mothers can do when they want the right playground equipment for their kids. Okay. So.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
That would be great to make those connections, because I know that that's kind of the linchpin right there, is just making sure that they can get that critical skill, which it is.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Mr. Whitson, Public Safety Committee.
Yeah, thank you. It seemed like a long time ago, just with the holidays. It would be, as you know, Chair Donna, the Public Safety Committee did meet for the fourth quarter of 2024. We met in early December, just after our last Board of Supervisors meeting. High-level overview. We had a couple of ongoing VDOT concerns where some progress has been made, and I think citizens might have seen the result of some of the work going to 11 to mitigate risk from wrong-way drivers. There are now additional signs that have been placed. They basically say do not enter at crossovers going from one side of 211 to the other. Not, I think, really the solution that most of us really wanted, considering we're trying to reduce signage in Rappahannock County, not increase it. But that's what VDOT has come up with so far. And it definitely seems like it should be obvious to any unimpaired driver what side of the road they ought to be on, and the signs definitely stand out. So we talked a little bit about that. I think at some point in the future, we're going to need to, in the near future, going to have to get some additional data from our dispatchers on wrong-way driver incidents and calls about wrong-way drivers, because I would like to continue to work with VDOT to try to come up with some better, elegant solutions to really solve this problem that we're all aware of and continue to witness and hear about. But for now, we have time. So let's hope that that makes some difference. Another VDOT issue, Mr. Curry probably can speak to some of the details, but there have been concerns about the roads in Rappahannock County going toward Culpeper that intersect with 211 side roads, and the fact that, especially in foggy conditions, it's easy for drivers to blow through stop signs and drive straight onto 211. And so I believe that some additional markings and signage have been placed at those cross streets. Is that correct, Mr. Curry?
I think it's rolling in. I've noticed a few locations with new advanced signage and new reflected material on signs to just try to get drivers' attention as they approach an intersection when they're cruising down a secondary and don't really know that primary is right around the corner.
Right. So the VDOT has been responsive again. Maybe not the type of solutions we're seeking, but we'll take what we can get for the time being. We had a pretty detailed discussion about this ongoing automated external defibrillator project rollout in the county. We reviewed a list that Mr. Stevens has compiled, and it's, I think, approximately 30 plus AED units that we would like to order. We have a $10,000 anonymous donation toward this project already. We're waiting for additional private funds, and I think we'll probably pursue this project bit by bit. If I could plug the project and any citizens who are interested in donating to it, the units, including the case for an AED, these will be placed at public gathering places, businesses, churches, outside of firehouses, etc. The weatherproof cases and the AED unit themselves come to around $3,000 each. And donations can be made to Wrap at Home, and earmarked for the county AED project. But I think the plan is to start with a few and continue to roll out this project. And the key point is that these new AEDs will be tracked, mapped, maintained centrally and regularly, and our dispatchers will be able to map these through GIS, and it's really a great community-based safety net to make up for the longer response times that our first responders are faced with, including in cases of cardiac arrest because of our geography and topography. So I think this is an awesome step in the right direction to making our community safer for people who might suffer cardiac arrest, whether they're residents or visitors. And I think we'll roll it out slowly in 2025. But if anyone is willing to support the project, again, funds can be placed with Wrap at Home and earmarked for the county AED project. And then finally, at the Public Safety Committee, we did have a brief discussion about data collection and reporting. Just how do we collect good data that really tells us the story regarding how our system is working for our citizens. So I think that'll be an ongoing discussion going forward, collecting data from dispatch and then analyzing it and drawing inferences from that information to make improvements in the system. So it was a good meeting. I really want to thank all the members of the Public Safety Committee. I feel like when we get together, we get a lot done in a short amount of time. So thank you to Chair Donahue, Chief Nick, Chief Burke, Sheriff Jenny Jenkins, Darren Stevens, and others who, and Gary Curry, obviously, who participated in those meetings. They're important, and I think we're going to continue to make some important decisions in the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning Commission.
Planning Commission met prior to the Christmas holiday. We met on December 18th. We moved to take the transient lodging draft amendments to a public hearing. We were hoping to have that public hearing in January due to noticing concerns in the local newspaper. We'll be having that in February.
Right, that's because the newspaper didn't have editions some weeks that
Exactly.
were mandatory to advertise.
The timing wasn't right to get it done in January.
I guess they need
so-
vacation or something.
So we'll push that to February. We do have a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday evening. At the December meeting, I asked the members of the Planning Commission if they thought it would be of value to have the Piedmont Environmental Council come and speak to us about data centers. My curiosity was piqued by a note in, I think it was the Culpeper paper, that work by Piedmont Environmental Council assures that no data centers will ever be built at Clevenger's Corner, I think was the phrasing in the article. And I thought, wow, if they've really been able to do that, it's quite a thing. I'm curious to know how they did it and what they're seeing and what they find trending statewide. So they're going to come and do a presentation for us next week, which should be on video, or I think with FOIA now, it's not a problem for everyone to attend.
Oh, yeah, it'll be a regular meeting, so.
Yeah. So that's what I've got.
It'll be really interesting to hear what they have to say.
I think it'll be great because it is such a fast pace, developing trend. It's challenging to get your arms around it, and I think until you're experiencing it, and that's not where we want to be.
Well, I will definitely find it very interesting. If I can, I'll attend for sure. But I will say, I've met with Chairman Paul Bates a couple of times. He is the chair of the Culpeper County Board, and coincidentally, his district butts right up next to Jackson. Obviously, the Clevenger's Corner, I drive by that every single day, and I'm already feeling the impacts. So back in September, there were some rumors that a data center was going there in Clevenger. So I promptly picked up the phone and called him and said, hey, it's poor practice for one county to tell another county what to do, but this does have a deep and serious impact on our residents. Can you tell me what's going on? He told me then in that phone call that there was no plans for a data center there at Clevenger's Corner, and he's born and raised from Culpeper County. It was a very good conversation. I do trust his input. I'll be happy to reach out to him. Like I said, I've reached out to him on 2 occasions since September, so I'll be happy to continue to reach out to him every now and then. Because another question I get a lot about Clevenger's is, will there be a pharmacy? So, that is yet to be determined. But in any case, he told me then that the appetite for a data center for any more data, that Culpeper County has approved their last data center. I can tell you I've heard similar information from other county officials in Culpeper as well, that Culpeper has approved their last data center. So, yeah, we'll see. And you are absolutely right, they are extremely complicated, and as complicated as they are, the state of Virginia is throwing all kinds of money behind them. So I think it's wise for anyone worried about data centers to do their level best to understand the entire picture, because it's, like I said, they are very complicated. In my full-time line of work, we've been talking about data centers since 2018, and I learn something new every single time I speak to someone about it, so.
Thank you.
Just a real quick note for my own information about noticing. Didn't they change the statute to allow for online noticing exclusively?
No, well, kind of, sort of. An online newspaper can petition the court to have the authority to do it. And during that process, they have to advertise in the local printed newspaper. I'm not aware of any online newspapers doing that yet. There's, there are maybe some pros and cons, but.
I defer to the expertise of our FOIA officer.
It's nice to know that we can probably go grab the printed newspaper from a long time ago and pull an ad. That becomes a little less comfortable if you're talking about an online newspaper that could be here this year and gone in 2 years, or they still would have responsibilities to.
Yeah.
But it's
because
not.
ABC changed it though, I think, for noticing ABC applications.
That may be different if they're.
No, I know.
Yeah, for their requirements.
Yeah, but that's why I was asking if the state had changed it.
They're still advertising in the rap news though, I know that.
I feel pretty strongly about this one. I mean, it's, we've got a weekly paper that's been around to Mr. Curry's point, for a long time. And I think we should stick with that platform.
All right, Mr. Carney, Fire Levy Board, did you guys meet?
We did not meet.
I guess we finished the second half of the year, so we need to think about planning that meeting and then also talking about the guidelines and things.
Yeah.
All right. Going into reports.
Probably worthwhile to just throw up the cash graph as you normally do. I should put this, but I think last month I said, well, don't put too much into the cash graph because we're in the middle of tax collections. And so now that is, those who paid on time are now recognized, and so you can see relatively we're about the same as we were last year. A little bit higher. I don't know if there's anything other. It was a good sales.
Yes, December.
Yeah, good sales tax month for. That's an October spend number, right?
That's
We
correct.
collect in December, so I guess some people want some great holiday gifts. Maybe a lot of turkey. Who knows?
Pumpkins and apples and lodgings that a little bit staying down, I think.
Yeah, this lodging was off, which is interesting, right? Sales tax is derived from these purchases as well. So.
Yes, and in the quarterly report for the period ending December 31st, the receipts are actually due in the Treasurer's office on the 20th of this month. So when this graph is updated at the end of this month, we should have that quarter's information.
Maybe it'll offset the other way.
Right, good, yeah. All right, any other reports people would like to look at? All right.
I'll just highlight the legal matters. I sent an email to the board about this. I had taken the Capruccio case off of this list for several months. It's back on. This is the Dimitri property on Seven Ponds. The site has been restored. This is about the individual there doing a bunch of disturbance without getting proper permits. And the individuals will not non-suit their case, so it's going to a hearing. And your attorney, Mr. Capps, has filed the necessary documents to show that there's no cause for civil fines in this scenario. So I guess that'll play out in court.
Okay.
Other than that, there's no change in any of the other cases.
Thank you very much. All right, moving to matters presented by the board, and it's only 3:15. Wow. Ms. Comer?
I don't have anything really, except that I share Ms. Roma's sentiment about as we lay former President Jimmy Carter to rest. I think it would be a good time to note all of his work with Habitat for Humanity, and just to plug the local Habitat for Humanity chapter. They call themselves Habitat for Humanity here, but lots of people may not realize that they serve Rappahannock as well. And back before Christmas, I met with folks from Habitat, and I just inquired about some activity that they have going on in our county, and they do quite a bit for several of our residents. So I just thought it was appropriate to point that out on this day, given that was the passion of former President Carter.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
I really thought it was interesting in the NACO newspaper that we all received, the NACO paper, all the talk about AI and its role in government. And I know it's been several years since we probably worked on the personnel manual. But I do think that we should have some policies. And I'd be curious to know what other counties in the Commonwealth have, particularly for AI and also for social media policies. I think it's great that the county has now a Facebook page to get information out in an area that we're so challenged to do that expeditiously with only having a weekly paper. But I do think it would behoove everyone to understand a policy, and knowing the importance of our guiding documents to the people of Rappahannock County. I don't think AI is a terrible thing, but it's like anything else that serves humankind. It can go either way. And I would be curious to know what other commonwealths or other counties within the Commonwealth are doing for an AI policy. I think as a supervisor, I would at least want to know if I'm reviewing something drafted with AI, or that the citizens have a right to know if something is drafted with AI. And that's just looking toward the future. I think 2 years ago, VDOT came to us and furnished us with a countywide safety report. Crash data, things of that nature, areas of concern. I don't recall we got one last year, but those are always very enlightening and help us to guide our work. And so Mr. Nesbitt presented that in person. If he's able to do that again, that would be great, but even a similar report along those lines would be wonderful.
He is tentatively scheduled for February for a quarterly update.
Oh, great.
Which happens when he and I remember to do quarterly updates.
Sometimes no news is good news.
Sometimes it's third updates.
But I thought that was a really great report last time he came through, and it helps us track fatalities and areas that seem to have recurring issues, and concentrate our efforts in that vein. So I would be curious to hear from him.
Yeah, all of that data is out there for us to look at on their website, but it's nice when he can pull it together.
That would be great. I think it was 2 years ago he last did that.
Wonder if your speed sign data added to that would add any value.
It's data, yeah.
And we should have a pool of data for that at this point.
Overwhelming.
Hopefully not too entertaining. Really nice, boring data.
Hearing an agenda item for February.
Wonderful.
All right, Van, do you, Mr. Curran?
I would just like to thank VDOT for hitting the roads and clearing and being vigilant and staying on top of it. Thank you. I do have one issue, which is the Castleton volunteers did an amazing job clearing. VDOT did not get back to the firehouse. They got to Hope Hill, but kind of bypassed it for some reason. And volunteers hit everything else. This is Rappahannock, I understand that. But if there's anything we can do to get them at least to cut through back down 522 on the other side and get that artery open, that would be huge. I know that, I'm assuming that they're just focusing on the bigger ones, but they did get a Hope Hill.
From?
I guess from Gravel Mills. No, from Laurel Mills.
Mills. Oh, okay.
So they came down that way and make it down Richmond and, came up that way. But then, in that area of the county, it just gets pretty squirrely and the roads get challenging.
There's very few ways to get from here to there on paved roads.
Yeah, there's no lines. So, but there's a lot of people back there. The Company 5 was on it, which was awesome. But anyway, I didn't know if it maybe was on their radar or it just seems like firehouses would be I'd just like to advocate to be a priority if I can.
And that's some after action that we can follow up with VDOT.
Awesome. Thank you.
They have a mammoth task.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, well, so the guys did notice folks on bigger tractors, and they couldn't tell if maybe they were contractors.
Well, probably.
Which they likely were. Yeah. But that's what they thought. So it is possible that VDOT was on it, and they were just guys and tractors.
Yeah, probably. In this county, there are a lot of contractors who are working for VDOT.
The roads are amazingly clear for as cold as it is,
Oh,
and as much
absolutely.
snow as we got.
Totally. 100%.
If I can stick a plug in.
I
So are
mean-
the sidewalks here, and thank you to the county staff.
Thank you to the county staff. It's true, because as you do too, I live right in front of 522, and they were on it, and I could hear them all night. Which was actually reassuring, because it would come through in that low rumble. I don't know if you get a low rumble. Yeah, you can hear it from like
Up
hundreds
the
of yards.
hill, I can still
So you know
hear
if
it,
it's
and
snowing.
I love to hear it. It makes me nervous when I don't hear it.
Right. You know they're on it, so. And it's gonna get colder.
Yes.
So.
Thank you. Mr. Whitson?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. And I too wanted to thank VDOT. I was working on my computer and saw two trucks, one following the other, go down Bear Wallow yesterday. So I knew that they had gotten that at least enough for people to get through there. Chester Gap is always a challenge. And when the blizzard came through, we were kind of, I think, caught just, I don't think the radar and the weather called for rain. I don't know how. It was 30, it was like Thursday, I think. And it was like 37 degrees. I'm not sure how they forecasted rain, but the blizzard came through really quickly. And people in Chester Gap just got nailed. They had cars off 522, both sides. They had cars off Chester Gap Road. It was a quick mess, and there's no way VDOT can plan for that, but I'm going to give a plug for their app. If you have not downloaded the 511 VDOT app on your phone, it's wonderful. You can look at cameras all over the state of Virginia if you're bored. But if you're traveling, it will at least let you know what the roads are like. And I did some screen captures of Chester Gap Road on Thursday afternoon just to let people know how bad the situation was, and got lots of positive feedback from people that were in Front Royal and other areas that were going to come over. And I was like, take a break for a little bit because you're not going to get anywhere. So the app is VDOT 511. don't know if it's actually called that.
501 VA, I think. And we have cameras at Thornton Gap and at Chester.
Chester Gap. And I'm working hard to get a heated camera at Chester Gap, and I'm really hoping that will happen. That's all I had. All right, I think we can recess now until 7 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Thank you all for a wonderful first meeting so far.